So we're in the backyard at Environmental Horticulture. The parking lot looks pretty empty right now. We're here to look at the common geranium, hybrid species, Pelargonium hortorum, and one of the most common plants in our horticulture. Very popular in San Francisco. We have the ideal climate for it, very mild. These are herbaceous perennials, get a little woody at the base, but fundamentally these are broadleaf, evergreen, herbaceous perennials that are grown, most of them for flowers, like you kind of see here, and others for foliage. This is so-called fancy leaf variety, here with nice variegation, nice and bright. Probably more common are those grown for the flowers, and they'll have leaves quite often that show this kind of zone. They call this a zone, and in fact these plants are often called zonals. Now it can be a little confusing. I'll discourage you from using a zonal geranium for the common name for these, because there are other geraniums that have this zone as well, and I mean, it's not that it's wrong. These are called zonal geraniums. There are many Pelargonium hortorum that that are properly called zonal geraniums, but just common geranium for the purposes of our class will be fine. And expect to hear reference. You'll hear a lot of reference in the world of geraniums to this band of coloration, and this is pretty straightforward. There's some really fancy zonals that have elaborate coloration and variegation. So anyway, a lot of these that are grown for flowers have that. It's been lost in a lot of them because they breed for the flowers, not so much for that. But then again, others for this. So that's these are not the best specimens. And in fact, a number of the plants that we do this week, I want to encourage you guys to go online and look at bigger, better specimens than what I happen to have before the camera. But it's handy here to show you these, because we have these two types, one right next to the other. By the way, there's a third Pelargonium in here. This is tomentosa. We're going to talk about that separately, but right now it's just the hortorum. Now, hortorum, short for, again, hybrid species Pelargonium hortorum. And when you guys look at this written out, you see a big old multiplication sign in between the Pelargonium and the hortorum. And when we read that, when we come across that on the page, we don't say Pelargonium X. That's really wrong. It's really a multiplication sign, but we don't say Pelargonium multiplication sign or Pelargonium X hortorum. We put that multiplication sign up front, and what we do is we say, when we see that multiplication sign, we say hybrid species, because that's what that multiplication sign represents. That this plant is a cross between two different species. Now, truth be told, these Pelargoniums that you're looking at right now are crosses, most likely between they probably have a half dozen or even more species Pelargoniums in their ancestry, because these things have been toyed with and hybridized for literally hundreds of years, and it's still going on at a mad pace today. So these are highly hybridized, highly domesticated, and the care for these reflects that. Modern regular water, these expect to be well watered, and full sun is really best, although they don't always get that. You guys know that these, just from unless you've been living in a cave, that these plants grow really well in San Francisco. We have this nice mild climate that permits us to enjoy these as perennials. And unfortunately, they get planted and neglected sometimes. So, they'll survive in in shadier spots they'll survive with like no water at all. But for these to really be at their best, they should be watered, pretty regularly, moderate to regular water, and full sun. That's what you'll give me. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Often historically these have been propagated by cuttings, but nowadays, especially the flowering forms, largely seed propagated. They have very superior. They have some very good plants that can be propagated by seed. And in most parts of the world, these are grown, from seed, enjoyed for a season, and then they disappear when it gets cold. They're basically grown as annuals, but we enjoy them more as perennials. And these fancy leaf types are more often they're more often propagated vegetatively. And they are more often held as kept indoors or in a greenhouse, atrium, something, and kept as perennial plants. But anyway, these are versatile and popular. You're going to see a lot of them. Let's see, I guess I've given you all the basics on this. Only plant ever to be nominated for an Oscar. Co-starred in that film, the famous film back in the late 1930s, La Grande Illusion, The Grand Illusion, kind of a pacifistic film. One of the great films of all time, and I think co-starred there alongside Erich von Stroheim in a famous scene. So you may know this little flower from that scene. But anyway. It's been around a long time and very popular. All right, enough of that.